Hi there. I thought I'd take a moment to explain and demonstrate how to operate a player piano. And this video would apply to basically any piano that was built between 1910 and 1935. They all operated by the same basic principle. And this particular piano was built in 1923 and was built by Huntsman and Company in Toronto, Canada. It's said to be the best pianos that were ever built in Canada. And on player pianos, you'll notice that there's sliding doors above the keys and a little shutter below the key bed, just above the pedals. And a player piano is basically a normal upright piano. Plays the same way a normal upright piano would play. There's a popular misconception that player pianos aren't as good as ordinary pianos. This is nonsense. They're just as good. They're basically the same, only they have an automatic playing mechanism installed, but it's the same as an ordinary acoustic upright piano. Oftentimes you'll see doors like this on seemingly normal upright pianos, but what this was in the 50s and 60s, a lot of player pianos had stopped working by that time. Player pianos contain a lot of perishable materials, like the cloth that covers the billows and the leather that's on the valve pneumatics. All that is perishable and will deteriorate over time. And a piano built in 1915 by 1950 or 1960 needed a total restoration on it by that time to replenish these perishable materials. So instead of doing this at that time, a lot of tuners would simply take the playing mechanisms out of the piano and turn them into basically a normal upright pianos. But you'll still see some pianos still have these doors, but there's no player mechanism inside. But you can bet your bottom dollar that at one point they were in fact player pianos, and they were gutted, as we call it. So when you open these sliding doors, you should see the spool box here. If you open sliding doors on a piano like this and you see the hammers, that means the player mechanism has been removed. You should not be able to see the hammers through sliding doors on the upper panel of the player piano. That's still a player piano. And also down below the keys here, you'll see the shutter. There's actually a lever here. If I turn this lever, the shutter opens and closes. And then I can just simply reach my foot in and lower down the pumping pedals like that. Also on player pianos, this is very common, almost on every player piano, the key slip folds down like this and your control mechanisms are here. And this is basically what every player piano has. Your rewind and play, your tempo, your sustaining pedal, and then your bass soft and your treble soft. And then up here, there's another control automatic sustain on and off. So you can control your sustain manually like this by pushing this lever. Because the pumping pedals are covering the normal sustain pedal on the piano. So you need a way to control it, and that would be from here. But there's also an automatic sustain, so when the hole in the paper passes this big square hole here, it actuates a pneumatic that lifts the hammer rail, just like if you press the sustain pedal, and that does it automatically from the roll. So we've opened the bottom panel, the sliding doors on the top, and the key slip controls. So we'll put in a roll. So on rolls, you'll see a round hole on one end and a slotted hole on the other. So the round hole always goes on your left hand side. You push it in, it's spring loaded, so you can push it in very easily. And then the other end seats in. The slot seats into the slot on the spindle. And then you take your tab and you spin your take-up spool around and then thread your grommet onto your take-up spool. Now your piano should always be in rewind when you're spinning the take-up spool. That way you can spin it freely and it's not engaged with the transmission. So now we have it. I always take a couple turns on the take-up spool just to make sure the paper is threaded on there good, I'll say. And now I can switch the piano into play. And it says on the roll tempo 70, so I'll put it on 70. I always go usually a little slower than the roll recommends, because I find you don't want to play the roll too fast. A lot of times it just mushes all the music together and it don't sound as good as if it's in the proper tempo. But player pianos are usually supposed to be set up so that 7 feet of paper passes the tracker bar. This is a tracker bar here in 1 minute at tempo 70. So this piano is set up for that. And so we'll try it at tempo 70 and see what happens. You could always slow down or speed up the roll by your tempo indicator. And this can be done mid-playing. There's no way to damage it by changing the tempo while you're playing a roll. You can go from stop, you see the fermata symbol here, to full speed, which is presto. So now we're set up. We got our piano into play, tempo, and I've got the automatic sustain on. So now we just start pumping. And you'll notice the keys are moving. Now on this piano, the keys don't move as much as they do on some other pianos. That's because this piano has back-weighted keys, so they just basically wink a little bit, but the key don't actually drop all the way like some American models do. But there's actually a lever here. I can lock the keys, so the keys don't move at all. And this was intended for rolls with a lot of fast repeating notes, so that the keys wouldn't interfere with the playing of the roll, but I don't think it really does anyway. So I can press down these buttons here to mute the treble or the bass. So like in this roll here now, when the melody is in the tenor, I can mute the treble a little bit to bring out the melody. And a player piano, if it's working properly, you should be able to pump soft, and the speed of the roll doesn't change, but the music goes softer. And if I pedal harder, it makes the music louder. And I can bring it down to a whisper by just pumping very slow. And if I stop pedaling, the music stops. But there's techniques you can use to enhance your playing, so to make it more artistic. The way you pedal. So in a song, quiet passages, you pedal lighter, and that'll make the music lighter. And then when, as the music moves on, you can increase your pedaling a little harder to bring the piano louder, and it gives it a nice dynamic effect. And the same with your expression here. Anytime that the melody goes to the bass, you can mute the treble so that brings out the melody, and vice versa. And also, a lot of rolls don't use a lot of sustain, or it doesn't have the sustain holes in it. You can turn off the switch and do it manually. But it takes a little... I'm a piano player. I played piano for years, so I know when I'm playing a roll, I know when to use the sustain as I would if I was actually playing manually. But it takes a little bit of time to master that, as there is a right and a wrong way to play a player piano. It's not as simple as just pedaling the pedals and throwing in a roll. And, you know, to get a nice musical result, it takes a little bit of skill, a little bit of practice to master the dynamics and your use of sustain. So I'll finish off the roll now, and I'll try to use some of these dynamics. So the roll is finished. You switch into rewind and just pedal till the roll completely rewinds. I just use on a really you know, good working player piano, you can just use one pedal so you don't make too much vacuum and make the roll rewind too fast, because you don't want to tear your rolls. So after your roll comes out of the spool box, just leave your piano in rewind, and that way it's ready to accept the next roll next time you play. So folks, that's how a player piano works. And like I say, it's very simple. There's really no way you can break it. You know, there's nothing you could do wrong that's going to damage the piano. So just, you know, put a roll in and practice using your expression and pedaling and getting the feel for it, and it's a lot of fun. Thanks for watching.